U.S. President is pressing hard on his Save America Act. Senate Republicans are now on Trump's firing line. The battle is paying out at the Capitol Hill, which is the home of U.S. Congress. President and American lawmakers are at odds over Trump's flagship electoral reforms. Donald Trump has scrapped a bipartisan housing bill until Democrats and Republicans they find a way to pass the Save America Act. The housing bill is aimed at boosting housing supply, easing construction rules, and expanding access to home ownership. This comes as high rents, elevated mortgage costs, and a shortage of homes weigh on Americans. Previously, Donald Trump has used the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, and the appointment of a director of national intelligence as leverage in his effort to advance his Save America Act. Under Save America Act, formal identification will be mandatory to cast vote. Secondly, citizenship will be must for voter registration. Additionally, the act will end usage of mail-in ballots, barring some exceptions. The act has been cleared by the House of Representatives, but remains stuck in the Senate, where Republicans lack the number to get it through without support from Democrats. U.S. President announced the move to scrap signing of the housing bill on his Truth Social platform. He called Save America Act a desperate need and a national emergency. Now, Trump's refusal to sign the bill may prove largely symbolic, as under the U.S. Constitution, a bill becomes law after 10 days if the president neither signs nor vetoes it while Congress is in session. We also know Trump's visit to the Capitol Hill turned combative when he challenged senators for rebuking him over the Iran war. The fiery exchange follows a congressional vote on war powers resolution. Now, earlier, 4 Republicans backed Democrat effort directing Trump to end Iran war or seek congressional approval. One of these lawmakers came in Trump's line of fire. In a closed-door lunch event, Trump reportedly engaged in a shouting match with Republican Senator Bill Cassidy. Things eventually went downhill when Trump reportedly raised his voice on Bill Cassidy after he insisted on voting for war powers resolutions. And that is until there is a congressional briefing on the developments in Iran. The report also alleged that the U.S. president called Senator Cassidy a lunatic. Following this, Senator Cassidy also responded by shouting back at the U.S. president, acknowledging that he had lost his temper. However, Cassidy said he is not going to make any apologies for standing up to the U.S. president. He even added that he demanded President Trump to share more information with the Senate and the American people. This clash comes after Trump backed Cassidy's rival candidate in the Republican primary. Bill Cassidy became the first incumbent senator to lose a Republican primary in 14 years. Well, Democrats have turned affordability into a major electoral issue, while Trump thinks Save America Act is a key reform to ensure victory in the upcoming midterms. For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live on the broadcast from New York. Susan, for a president who prizes his loyalty so much, isn't it concerning that there are so many cracks inside the Republican Party?
Yeah, notably for the White House. President Trump himself has said time and again that with all the problems that the Democratic Party has and has had, they were always united when they took control of the House and the Senate. And we're not really seeing this kind of unity among the Republican Party, although outwardly he does praise members on Capitol Hill. However, we see that behind closed doors, there are definitely cracks. And most of it really started to surface after the war with Iran that we're seeing, for example, this back and forth with Bill Cassidy. The problem with this is because the president was so angry that there were a number of Republicans who sided with Democrats in sort of trying to rein in his war powers, he then suspended a housing package signing that was very instrumental for a lot of these Republicans back home to win seats in the midterm election. He's saying that he's going to hold that housing package hostage until Republicans get their act together and pass the Save America Act. As you mentioned, that's his sort of bill to raise national voting standards, something, again, that some Republicans are not on the same page with others. That's why they haven't been able to pass the Save America Act ahead of the midterms, despite the fact of having a majority in both houses. So, yeah, things do not look good in terms of unity for the Republicans. I think Mike Johnson is going to have his hands full and, of course, an earful from President Trump when he visits him at the White House next time.
But as we talk about rifts, it's evident and established that the rifts are possible in the Democratic Party as well. Moderates and socialists, they are divided. In the Republican Party, there's pro-war, anti-war debate going on. How do you see this playing out during the midterm elections?
Yeah, well, the Democrats really do have a problem right now. They have a messaging problem. And for the past year or so, since President Trump was elected, they haven't been able to have a unified message themselves. They have internal problems as well. But what we're seeing, and is maybe concerning for some established Democrats, is the rise of these progressive socialists in states like New York and elsewhere, even in New Jersey. So whether or not they're going to try to change that messaging and, become the party of the working class once again is yet to be seen. But right now, they have a plan to criticize the Republicans. They haven't put out a plan and a single messaging to say how they're going to solve Americans' problems, notably when it comes to the economy and, of course, inflation.
Of course, Susan, it'll be interesting to see how it eventually plays out. Thank you for sharing the latest updates and joining us on the broadcast.